Hello, my name is Greg Barone. I'm an executive director with LegalShield, and I appreciate you taking just a few minutes to see how these voluntary benefits, when you roll them out to your staff, can save your business money, make your employees more productive, help their families and their families' lives, and basically help you reduce your business risk at no direct cost to your company. I know that seems like a pretty big claim, but if you will give us the next 30 minutes just to explain to you how we're able to do that, I think you will see this is truly a benefit that you absolutely need to add to your employee benefit package. We provide powerful benefits that, again, protect your employees and protect your business and reduce your cost at no direct cost to your business. Appreciate you taking 30 minutes to look this over, and hopefully we will then be able to schedule a brief meeting to sit down with you and talk about next steps to implement this for you and your company. Have you or your employees or your clients ever thought about asking a legal question to an attorney but didn't want to receive that huge bill? Have you gotten your will updated recently? Have you ever received a traffic citation or a moving violation? Those can take your employees away from work for hours waiting to get in front of the judge at the traffic courts. Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Have you ever purchased a home, dealt with a civil dispute or a divorce, or had concerns about your identity? Identity theft has gotten to the point where it's not a matter of if it happens to your employees, it's a matter of when. And they'll have to invest countless business hours to try and get those situations resolved unless you've provided them something that will help them. We're going to go through all of that, but we're going to talk about the main reasons that people don't seek legal advice. Well, first, they're a little bit intimidated by lawyers. They don't know very many lawyers, and they really are afraid it's going to cost them way too much if they tried to use a lawyer. So most of us are left trying to figure out how to handle it on our own. And typically, we don't do a very, very good job of handling it on their own, but we're left with no other options. The poorest of our society provide legal aid. The most wealthy can afford attorneys. What about the rest of us in the middle? We're kind of left with no representation, which is one of the reasons why we exist as a company, to help fill that need. Now, the common responses to a dispute, again, are to ignore the problem or to try and handle it personally, neither of which is a very effective solution. The market is ready for this. We've done research. We've had an independent research study conducted by decision analysts, and what they found was that 90% of Americans currently have some form of legal problem that they're trying to deal with, and they don't have any form of legal insurance to help them deal with it. 2/3 of Americans say they've never heard that such a plan even existed. And we've also found that majority of people, when they find out there's something that can help them reduce their legal risk, they're very interested. And I can tell you, in the 12 years I've been associated with this company, every time we make this available to employees, we see a minimum of 60% participation rate by the employees when we're given an opportunity to spend 20 to 30 minutes explaining it to them. If you were to survey your staff and say, would you be interested in a legal plan? Most of them are probably going to say no, because they've never really used attorneys. They aren't familiar with what an attorney can do. But when they receive a detailed explanation of what it provides versus what it costs, they see the value, and the vast majority of them will enroll when made available as an affordable benefit. Employee legal problems cost your company. They cost you in terms of absentee rates, because when they're calling in sick, sometimes they're just taking care of personal legal issues. It reduces their productivity. Let's be honest. They don't forget their problems when they come to work 8 to 5. Those problems are on their mind. They're distracting them from being focused on what you're paying them to do. Your business is a production environment that can also contribute to mistakes and accidents that will cost your company money in terms of workers' compensation claims and those types of things that can create, some serious cost to you because they were distracted when they should have been focused on what they were doing. Also, obviously, the stress causes problems with their health that leads to increased insurance costs for your business as well. So 57 million full-time Americans experienced at least one significant legal event in the past 12 months, and 40% of them don't seek legal help with that problem. And that is what creates the real challenge. So you need LegalShield. LegalShield gives your employees the ability to talk to an attorney about any personal issue without worrying about getting a high hourly bill. For one flat monthly fee, they can have access to legal advice, whether it's something traumatic or something very trivial. They can get an attorney on the phone advising them. LegalShield exists to provide that equal access to liberty, equality, opportunity, justice that every human deserves and should expect, but very few of us can access because we're locked out of it financially. Also, they cannot receive advice for any issues related to you, their employer, who made this benefit available. Any issues involving the employer that made this benefit available are completely excluded by the plan, and that exclusion goes with them for life. So let's talk about exactly how we deliver this incredible service to your staff. Well, once they become a member, they will have this smartphone app on their phone. It will have their member number. They can literally tap a button, call our law firm. The law firm's going to ask them what's the nature of your legal issue, and they're going to have an attorney experienced in that area of the law call your employee back and give them advice on anything they need to get advice on. They will talk to them as often as they need to about anything they need to, and your employee will never receive a bill for that. Unlimited personal advice on any number of issues. They will write letters or make phone calls on your behalf. Anytime you get ripped off or treated unfairly, if they feel it's in the employee's best interest to get that issue resolved with a letter or phone call, they will draft that letter or phone call and send it out. When an employee has a situation where they are dealing with a business that they felt has ripped them off or not treated them fairly, instead of spending hours on the phone with customer service and getting nowhere, they can literally hand that off to an attorney that will write a demand letter and get those issues resolved for them. They will review their contracts and documents up to 15 pages in length. They can have an attorney look those things over before they commit to any contract or document. In addition to that, IRS audit assistance. If somebody goes through an audit, obviously, hopefully they have a CPA who knows their numbers. We're going to provide them a tax attorney who knows their rights. Civil trial defense. In the event that they're sued, we'll provide an attorney to defend them in that court anytime they're named as a defendant in a civil action. There's also domestic family services, divorce, adoption, separation, name change. Anything that's uncontested, they're not fighting about it, it's all very much agreed on how it's going to take place, that's fully covered by the membership 90 days after the employee enrolls with the plan. Speeding tickets. Obviously, when your employee gets a ticket, they're going to have to go to traffic court, and they may or may not be there for several hours waiting on the docket and waiting for the judge to hear their case and waiting for them to handle that. With this benefit, they will literally be able to take a photograph of the ticket, submit that ticket to the law firm, have the law firm call them back within 4 business hours and make arrangements to meet them in the traffic court or handle that ticket on their behalf, depending upon the requirements of the court where they got the citation. And they pay nothing for that representation for that traffic tickets. If you have people who drive for the company, keeping their driving record obviously impacts your insurance on your company vehicles. Anything that you can do to provide them access to an attorney when they receive any citation is going to help minimize your cost in insuring your company vehicle. In addition to that, they will also prepare a will, a living will, a durable power of attorney, and medical directive to physician for your employee and their spouse at no direct cost. It even includes simple children's trust. I wasn't an expert at that when I worked on my will for my family, and having the ability to call an estate planning attorney and find out the will I needed was a huge plus for me in getting the will I needed versus just downloading some free form on the internet and maybe not doing it properly. But having that good estate planning legal advice was huge, and I'm sure it will be for your staff as well whenever they need to have those documents in place when they have children. You know, the cost for getting a will done, main reason people don't get wills done, it's either too expensive or they just don't have the time. This enables them to work on that literally right from their smartphone with the touch of a button. They can answer the questionnaire, fill out all the information. And finally, if your employee has a legal situation where they're being arrested, questioned, or detained by a police officer, or if they're involved in a traffic accident where someone's injured, or if Child Protective Services shows up to remove their children from their custody, we want to give your employees access to an attorney in those emergency situations. So everyone in their family will have this app that they can literally touch that emergency button and get 24-hour access to a law firm with the touch of a button. They can then give them that emergency advice 24/7, 365 days a year. Obviously, when one of your employees gets in a huge legal problem, they're usually going to call the person they know with money, which oftentimes is you. You want to be in a position where they have an attorney that they can call instead of you. And having this available to them as a benefit will hopefully minimize from a major problem that could keep them out of work for several weeks while they're dealing with it. Hopefully they can get back to work the next business day. 24-hour access for the entire family. So what's it cost? It's very affordable for any employee, whether you're paying the minimum wage or whether they're making even more. The pricing for group is basically $23.95 is the cost per month. So if you divide that by 26 pay periods or 24 pay periods, depending upon how many, it's usually less than the cost of a number one from McDonald's to cover the member and their family. Who's covered? The member's spouse, any never married dependent children, including full-time college students under the age of 26 who are living at home. Dependent children under the age of 18 for whom the employee is the legal guardian, and any physically or mentally disabled children, regardless of their ages, if they're living at home, they're covered for life as well. So what do you think your employees would choose? A lawyer charging $250 an hour, or joining LegalShield for less than $25 a month and having access to the world's largest legal network? Let me explain to you how we're able to do this. How are we able to provide unlimited access to law firm for less than $25 a month? Well, we've created somewhat of a legal co-op. We've got 4.1 million members across the United States that are paying less than $25 a month. So that enables us to write a huge check to a major law firm in their home state. In Texas, for example, we pay $1.3 million a month to a law firm so that whenever any of your employees have a legal issue, they've already got a $1.3 million retainer with a law firm to handle that for them. So we're sharing the cost collectively so that when we have a legal issue, it doesn't become a nightmare for us individually. That's how we're able to provide this. So don't become a statistic. Identity theft is one of the biggest consumer complaints for the FTC for the past 16 years straight. Victims of identity theft are spending an exorbitant amount of time and money dealing with it, trying to restore it. Your folks don't have the business hours on the phone with creditors and credit bureaus and businesses to try and resolve this when it happens to them. They've got a job to do. Okay, so we want to make a benefit available to them where when this happens to them, they don't have to take time off of work. They don't have to even have presenteeism. Presenteeism is when they're there at your work, but they're focused on something other than their work. So we want to be able to have them have a benefit where they can literally hand that off to a licensed private investigator who's going to go resolve those issues for them. We deliver that to your employees so that they don't have to worry about becoming a victim. If anybody has their personal information is, causing any kind of problems with their identity, they literally can hand that off to an investigator, and that investigator can go to work and resolve those issues. Had your personal information compromised online, you received notification you were involved in a data breach. Everyone has been impacted by at least one data breach. Data breaches are a huge thing. Now, if your company were to ever have a data breach, wouldn't you be in a much more defensible position if you can say, hey, Your Honor, we offer all of our employees protection from data breaches. We offer them an identity theft service that they can subscribe to that helps them anytime their identity is compromised. Wouldn't it make sense to make that available to your staff to help mitigate your risk of a data breach at your business? In addition to that, we want to talk about the impact to your employees. Again, they may have problems securing a loan. They may have harassment from debt collectors that are calling them nonstop, reminding them of the debts they owe, which impacts their morale, impacts their focus at work, keeps them thinking about their problems instead of thinking about the job that you hired them to do. Possible arrest that could come from bounce checks, those types of things that could keep them away from work. Having actually someone show up at their employer to arrest them. That has happened to a lot of different companies where the police arrive asking for an employee to take them into custody for something that is maybe not even their fault, not even something they did. If that happens with a manager, that can impact the respect level that that manager receives from coworkers. So we want to make sure that they've got something in place to help them deal with that if it should ever occur. Basically, we want to keep them focused on their work, keep them from having to be absent to deal with these problems. Solution of IDShield. We want to educate your employees on protecting personal data so that they're more careful with the data you give them access to. And we also want to provide them detailed monitoring of both their credit and internet. The monitoring we provide is second to none in the industry. We're monitoring everything that matters. And then when they have their identity compromised, again, we're using only licensed private investigators to resolve it. We have dedicated investigators that will have them sign a power of attorney, and then they will go to work. And we deliver it, again, all from this smartphone app. It allows them to monitor their credit score. And anytime anything new happens to anything on their identity, they're basically going to get an alert. They'll be able to click on that alert and see if whatever just hit belongs to them. For example, if they went out shopping for a car at CarMax, and they get an alert and it says application for credit at CarMax, they go, okay, cool, it's working. And they know that the service is doing what it's supposed to do. But if they get an alert at Mercedes-Benz of Houston and they weren't out shopping for a Benz, then they would want to call immediately and get in touch with their IDShield advisor so that that licensed private investigator can get to work fixing it while they continue to do what you hired them to do. So unlimited consultation on identity theft related issues. They can basically call and get advice from one of our licensed investigators for anything that even makes them feel a little insecure about their identity, like leaving town for 3 weeks. What do I do with my mail? That kind of thing. They can get advice on any of that kind of consultation involving their identity. And they have comprehensive monitoring, as I suggested. ID theft has sent over 6.5 million individual alerts in 2016. And we want to make sure that anything goes awry with somebody's identity, we have early detection. Because early detection is the key to prevent that identity theft from creating even more problems for your employee that's going to take it even longer to get resolved without having a benefit like this in place. So we're monitoring their name, their date of birth, their social security number, passports, driver's license, medical information, email addresses, bank accounts, credit cards, you name it. We monitor their social media accounts to make sure they don't post anything that's going to put their identity at risk. If they do, then they receive an alert saying, hey, you really might not want to put your full date of birth on Facebook. That puts your identity at risk. Those types of things will be sent to them so that they can then make sure that they are monitoring and protecting their personal information. And when they have a problem, again, it's complete identity restoration. They hand it off to a licensed investigator, and that investigator will take care of all those issues for them so they can stay focused on the job you hired them to do. Comprehensive restoration. They'll do whatever it takes, as long as it takes, to clear their records for life, and pre-existing are completely covered for your employees. So if they have a current identity theft issue they're struggling with, our investigators will help them resolve that as well. So again, who's covered with the IDShield? The member and the member's spouse is covered, and up to 8 minor dependents up to the age of 18. Children are 50 times more likely to have their identity stolen than adults, because nobody's looking at a 5-year-old's credit report. Somebody can get a hold of your 1 or 2-year-old social security number and use it for 10, 15 years without you even knowing, till they go off to college and maybe apply for their first car loan or their first credit card. And then they find somebody has been wreaking havoc on their identity for the past 10 to 15 years. So we want to make sure that the minors are covered as well. We'll pull the kids' socials and make sure there's no credit record, there's no work history. If they find any of that does exist for your employees' children, they will go to work with the investigator and resolve that as well. So the dependent coverage covers up to age 18. Now, once they become 18, they legally can no longer monitor their kids' credit because their kids are adults, but they will still help with full coverage for restoration of any identity theft situation for 18 to 26. So as an individual, you get a little bit lower price point, but it covers the employee alone. The only time you would ever offer this is when they have no spouse and they have no children and they want coverage just for themselves. That's a little bit lower price point for the individual. So here's a pricing. We're going to talk about group rates because obviously you're a business owner. If you offer this on payroll deduction, we'll be able to offer it at the discounted group rate. The LegalShield is $23.95 per month. The family ID Shield is $18.95. So the total combination is $38.90 per month. And if you're an individual, the ID Shield is a little bit discounted. It takes $10 a month off. So that would lower that price. So you take that number, that $38.90, times the 12 months in a year, divided by the number of pay periods that you have. And then that would be what would be deducted from each check for each employee that elects to participate. And again, we typically see 60% of them will. We also have a member perks program that gives them access to over 400 plus companies that give them serious monthly savings. Typically, the monthly savings from using this service is going to far exceed the cost of participating as a member. That's one of the reasons why we see a high participation rate. One of the ones that most employees avail themselves over anything else is movies, AMC and Cinemark. You get 30% off the cost of your movies when you're a member of LegalShield. You get discounts on hotels, rental cars, you name it. There's, again, 400 plus companies. Even the Sam's Club membership, the renewals for Sam's Club membership, if you shop at Sam's, that renewal is much, much, much less expensive when you're a member of LegalShield because you get a discount through your member perks that can be accessed literally right in that section of the smartphone app. So just a little bit more about these companies. LegalShield was established in 1972 along with IDShield. Our annual revenue is approximately $450 million. We have over 4 million lives that are covered across the United States and Canada, 2.1 million requests for legal assistance annually. We got a dedicated business solutions division with over 140,000 companies that have made this available to their staff. Specifically in Houston, the Houston Astros have made it available to their staff. The Houston Rockets have made it available to their staff. The Houston Better Business Bureau offers this as an employee benefit. Houston Baptist University. There's a number of different clients probably in your industry that have already made this available to their employees. IDShield, again, is like a companion product to LegalShield. They're two separate benefits that are offered in combination and meant to work in concert with another. If you get arrested for something you didn't even do because of identity theft, that's where the attorney will step in and help you with that arrest with that 24-hour emergency access. Just a few quotes from William Hubbard, who's the American Bar Association president. We must open our minds to innovative approaches and leveraging technology in order to identify new models to deliver legal services. Legal services are generally too expensive for your staff. This changes that. It makes it available to them literally in the palm of their hand. We want them to seek that legal advice so they're not bringing those problems to work. We want to make sure they're getting help with those legal problems because it contributes positively to your morale at your workforce. Better temperament with dealing with your customers, less likely to lose their cool because they're dealing with a bunch of personal issues that are distracting them from that customer service focus that I know you want them to have. Simple administration. We have a LegalShield at Work administration site that allows you to add and delete members upon request. It's a month-to-month commitment as far as we're concerned. We do have some clients that want to lock their employees in so they're not starting and stopping mid-year, but from our perspective, it's month-to-month. There are no long-term contracts or claim forms for you to fill out. It's very rate stable. We've never had a price increase for an existing member in the history of the company. Cannot be used by employee against employer or employee issues. So those are completely excluded, as I mentioned, from the plan. Again, we see 60 to 80% participation when we're given 20 to 30 minutes to make this available to your staff. We can usually do it over a staff lunch, bring in pizza, feed them, and just share the information. Guaranteed issue product. There's no pre-existing. Everyone who wants it can enroll in it. No underwriting, no claim forms, very easy to administer. Your enrollment options, we can have them enroll via an electronic website. We can do it with paper applications. Can definitely be there to do on-site enrollments. You can have electronic billing. You can do self-bill. paper bills, paper invoices. However you need it set up, we'll be able to do that, whether we can do bank draft, basically however you want to set this up through payroll deduction. You can also offer it as a full fringe or a partial fringe, however you need it to be done. So that's all the information I have to share. I really appreciate you taking time to hear about this. Hopefully you see there is no downside to this. We need basically 20 to 30 minutes to make this available to your staff. The vast majority of them will enroll, and when they enroll, it helps you mitigate your risk, keep your employees focused on their job and present at their workplace, and not dealing with personal family issues while they're on the clock supposed to be working for you. Please get back in touch with the person who shared this with you, who sent this over to you, and we'll see if we can schedule a meeting to share with you a little bit more information about how we plan on rolling this out for you and your staff. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, and I really appreciate you taking 30 minutes to look this over. Talk to you soon.